Hi, this is JOY Langley, and you are listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and today I'm humbled enough to have Joy here, who is a stress and anxiety coach and also a therapist. Joy, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
My absolute pleasure.
Perfect.
Savia. And I was just looking at the screen and saying, I'm sure it says not recording along the bottom.
No, it is recording on my side over here, so you're okay. I've got my roadcaster over here, so I kind of...
Doesn't pay to be too nosy in this world, does it?
No, it's absolutely fine. So what I normally do is I use the screen that I have here so that I can interact with my guests, because I find it better for us to be able to see each other and have a connection. And then on my side, I have my studio behind me, and I have all like the equipment behind me, which I record everyone.
So now I forced you to do a lot of editing. I'm so sorry there, Savia.
Oh, no, no, not at all.
I just thought, I can't let her continue without saying it.
No, it's absolutely fine. No, I might just leave this in there as well, because people are always saying, are you recording at the bottom? I was like, no, I'm recording. It's okay.
It's just so funny.
So let's get into our questions for you today. So my first question, which I always ask everyone, is about your background. I know we spoke a bit about it before we actually started even to press record, but can you tell me a little bit about where you grew up and how that impacted you to have a passion or inspiration to be an anxiety coach and a therapist?
Right. For sure, Savia, yeah. I mean, I've come to this part of my life and I chose something completely different. So hence, now I am a therapist and I do CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and I do stress and anxiety, specialise in all that kind of stuff. But pre that, I was born in London.
Yep.
Born in a place called Neasden, which is a very interesting area in London. Mm-hmm. And went to a nice secondary school, which people may remember or not remember, but it's a local secondary school. And then I went on to do a degree in chemistry and business. Ooh. So I chose a really kind of weirdo topic. And then I came out with my lovely shiny degree and couldn't get the job that I wanted, and then started doing really boring jobs, like unfortunately being a secretary, which is not, it's sort of boring for me, but PA, personal assistant, secretary stuff, that's what I did. And then I just got depressed.
Okay. All right. So that leads me on to my next question. How did it all start with the depression, when you got into depression, for you to be able to bring yourself out of that depression and start doing something that you actually really love?
That's a really hard question, Savia. And obviously, looking back on my own experience of depression, there wasn't anybody around really to tell me how to solve it. I remember going to the doctor and wanting some antidepressants. I actually wanted some antidepressants. And they said, oh, no, you can't have that. So obviously they didn't think I was bad enough. But for me, with the state of mind I was in at the time, it was someone saying, oh, you're not even good enough to have tablets, Joy. You can't even do depression fully, can you? What's wrong with you? So when you're in a negative space, everything looks bad. And I'm an overachiever. I like doing well. So for me, if I'm going to do depression, I want to do it well. So being told that I couldn't even do that well was a really strange response. But eventually, through, I suppose, reading books and I suppose I did a lot of listening to audio, recordings from people. Yeah. I began to look at how to change my own life. So I would say the self-help industry, in terms of the self-help books that are out there, they kind of saved my life, because every book had something interesting to tell me on how to, I would say, change my perspective on life.
No, that's better. What 3 books would you say you read that you, here is a question for you. What 3 books would you say you have read that you feel that you can give advice to people to say, read these books because they help me change my life?
Wow. You know what, Savia? It's such a long time ago. I don't know if I can remember which books I read. I was talking to a friend actually last week, and she mentioned a book called, I think it's The Celestine Prophecy.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, good. So you know the
Yeah.
title. I'm trying to remember the author. Can you remember the author?
No, I don't remember the author, but I do remember the book
Okay.
because it wasn't
So
so long ago.
Celestine
Someone spoke to me
Prophecy.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a book that kind of got me thinking about life. Obviously, I got into some books by, I think, Ilania Van Zandt,
Okay.
if I pronounce the name properly.
Yeah.
But she used to be, she's been on Oprah and she's now got her own show and everything else. So she's quite
Wow.
big up there. And she had, her books were interesting. They didn't always sit well with me. Some of the things that she said about you have to go through the pain and suffering is good. I'm thinking, really? I don't want to suffer.
Yeah,
I just
no
want a
one wants
good
to
life.
suffer. Yeah, no one. I don't believe anybody really wants to suffer. If we had an option between suffering and happiness, I think we would always choose happiness. But some people,
Absolutely.
I think some people like pain. It's a crazy thing to say.
I think it's a habit.
True, I like
It's a
that.
habit.
I like that
And like
answer.
everything else in life, if the thing that I teach people obviously nowadays is that it's about focus.
Yes.
And you could equally well, like a horse with blinkers on,
Yeah. Yeah.
they put it on a horse really to make it go in a straight line and not look left and right type of thing. Fair enough. So with depression, it's a bit like having blinkers on, but everything that you're looking at has got a negative tinge to it. But you don't realize that. It just becomes your world. Okay,
Oh,
you just say, oh,
okay.
that's just the way it is, Joy. That's just the way it is. So I equally say if you twist it a little bit to the left or the right, you
Yeah.
might see a
The
more
light.
positive way.
Yeah.
So it's about perspective and it's about being able to at least recognize you're not thinking straight. You've got a very negative attitude going on. So back in the days, it was this thing called positive mental attitude.
Yes.
That was the word they threw around. And I didn't quite get it then, but I kind of grew into it. And it helped me to become less depressed
Yeah.
and a bit more happier. So this positive mental attitude. But you can't be happy all of the time. That's the problem. So you have to work out what's the purpose. I've begun to work out what the purpose of depression might be, or what's the purpose of my anxiety might be. It's just another emotion that we
Yeah.
have. And I think it has a purpose.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. I love that answer. For you, how is it? How does it work? What are the first stages of getting stress, being stressed, and how that impacts the people that you love around you?
It's just, stress is something that we naturally have. The body will go to that place if the demands that are being placed on it are too much, or you're doing something and it's just too much for you. And strangely enough, it can even be something that you were good at doing last week, but this week it's a real struggle. So you beat yourself up like, oh my God, I used to be able to do this. Why can't I do this anymore? So that's another place with stress. But I would say that if anything just feels a little bit too much for you, and you begin to then have a physical reaction. So the mind will start thinking stuff, negative things, and there's a connection between what you think and what you feel. So once you start feeling something, the mind and the body are connected. So you do start feeling something, and there will be a physical response, simply because the adrenaline that everyone knows about goes into your body to try and help you to respond.
Yes.
And we've got everyone knows about fight and flight, and people talk about that. You either run from something or you fight it.
Yes.
So I kind of say, you're staring at this big lion or this big, saber-toothed tiger, and you're saying, right, can I eat it? Or is it going to eat me? You kind of have to work them out very quickly.
No, that's true.
And very quickly, Sylvia.
No, I'm usually the one to try and eat it. No.
You're brave. You're brave. But you know what? On a good day, perhaps you could.
Yeah, no, true. That is true. No, I agree with you.
Which is why I'm saying, don't be surprised that sometimes the things you used to do so easily might not be so easy, on that day.
What are the things that you're most grateful for, Joy? What keeps you, because this is your area, because this is something that you're passionate about, what are the things that you have the most gratitude for?
For me, Savvy, I would say that my family bring me an awful lot of joy. My name is Joy, fair enough, but they also keep me in a really positive space. I must admit, growing up as a child, I had two brothers and two sisters, so there's an awful lot of people floating around the house. And at some point, I always wished I was just an only child. I thought, oh, all these people around, get rid of them. I just want to be an only child. But once you get to, get past your 20s, let's say, you begin to appreciate your brothers and your sisters and your family if you get on with them. And we've all just grown together, and we just love each other, and we're around each other as much as we can be, and we try not to fall out with each other. Of course, we've fallen out every now and then, because even the best families will fall out in different ways, but we've recovered and we've got back together again. So I would say my family, first and foremost, is my strength. But I think I do have a positive attitude to life, funnily enough, because I don't know what else would happen to me if I didn't have it. Because I sometimes say that, positivity and being joyful and all that kind of stuff, it is an attitude. And I also say it's a choice.
Yes.
And people might argue with me, because then they'll bring in why they can't be happy. I can't be happy because I haven't got this joy, and I can't be happy because I haven't got that. So I'm saying, how about changing your focus and stop looking at the things you haven't got? Because that's another practice.
Yeah.
Why are you looking at all the things you haven't got? I know you haven't got a Lamborghini. I know you haven't got 2 houses and 1 to spare. I know you don't get 10 holidays a year. I know. Tell me something that you do have.
Yeah.
So we talk about bringing, if I were to draw 2 circles and put a big circle and a smaller circle inside of that, Savia, the smaller circle is me and you, our individuals. Like, what can I control? And the bigger circle that's surrounding us is the world, our environment. Other people.
What we can't control necessarily.
We have no control over them, Savia. It makes us sick.
Joy is punching her fist right now in the air.
Because I've been meeting a lot of people saying that, if only other people could do what I wanted. I'm thinking, but don't you think they feel that about you?
That's true. Yeah, totally. That is totally true. How does stress affect your health? Because that's a question that I always wanted to ask you.
Yeah. Well, stress in and of itself, Savia, is not a bad thing. It's a very sensible response to danger. The body needs it. It's a survival mechanism. And if you didn't have it, you probably go off and do something crazy, like jumping off a cliff because you thought, that water looks nice and blue. Let's just jump off the edge of it. No fear. You have no fear. So you do need to have that as well. But I would say that the only thing about stress is that if you stay in that space for too long, possibly without some downtime or some relaxation time, or even just straight exercise, the chemicals that get generated when you're stressed, so we're talking about adrenaline, and there's cortisol, which can become a painkiller. These things can then start attacking the cells in your body. So it affects your immunity, and that's the danger of prolonged stress. And people talk a lot about burnout and stuff like that, but I don't want you to be living in that space where you're frightened of stress or frightened of being anxiety. Because I'm kind of doing a big turnaround in my life right this minute with my own attitude towards stress, even though I talk about it and work with clients. But it's seeing stress as being a positive force as well, because the adrenaline that goes into your body is to make you alert. It's to make you pay attention to something. It's to make you focus, and it gives you energy. Okay, because in that moment, that's what you need. But we've had a bit of an old-fashioned attitude to it, which is changing, which is basically, what if imagine if stress were actually your superpower. And when you get stressed, Savia, don't be frightened of it. I know it's uncomfortable, but just believe that this is good for me. It's going to make me more alert. It's going to make me pay more attention, more responsive. It's going to help me to focus. And then go and do what you're going to do. I'm not saying you won't still have a few, like tension in your body and whatever, or your heart might not, your heart will still be racing possibly. You might still be getting butterflies in your stomach, all the signs that your adrenaline's in your system, but don't be frightened of it. And if you approach it with a different attitude, actually, you know what? You'll probably do okay. And you'll do well in all your tasks. So use it as a superpower more than something to be afraid of. So the kind of stuff around promoting the burnout and it's bad for your health and blah, 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 I'm really not going to be on that tip anymore, Savia. I'm changing my ways.
Oh, that's a really good. I feel like I just got a free therapy session. No, like I was like, and because I meditate as well, and that's another thing that I want to speak to you about is meditation. Do you feel like meditation is something that people should do to help release the stress and anxiety that they do have?
Okay, nice one. So I'll just say that I don't meditate really well. I don't meditate in that way at all. So, but you're right. I would encourage people to find a way of being still.
Okay.
So that's an interesting thing to say because I'm someone who doesn't relax very much. So I actually know the difference between me being all ramped up and hyped up and me being still. It's hard for me. But let's imagine your brain is going at 100 miles an hour. Every now and then you do owe it to your poor brain just to let it relax, just to flop, you know. So finding something to do that, whatever it could be, it could actually just be music. I love music. I mean, it could be just staring at a tree. It could be just being out in nature and hearing the birds singing. It could even just be, writing, free-flowing writing. And as you're writing, you're getting into a zone.
That sounds
so
nice.
There's this thing which I call about getting into the zone, which is a funny thing to say. But there are things that we do creatively, as you probably know, Savia. If you're an artist drawing, if you're a singer singing, if you're creating some music, if you're making something, time disappears. You could be like an hour later, 2 hours later, you say, oh my God, where did the time go? So that's called being in the zone. Okay. And your brain is actually grateful for you being still. So I'm saying that meditation is interesting. And I know that everyone talks about it, meditation and mindfulness.
Yes.
So just noticing the things around you, even just saying one word, like if you're out walking, don't just say, oh, there's a car down the road, say car. If you see a tree. If you see a person. So you're not making it mean too much, but you're also acknowledging that it's there in front of you.
Yeah.
So it's about slowing the brain down for me more than having to be skilled at meditation, because everybody's got the wrong idea of meditation anyway.
Yeah.
Even me saying, oh, I don't do it really well. Actually, Joy, you probably do meditate.
Yeah.
You just don't call it that.
As a coach, there's a question. You deal with so many people, and one question I've always wanted to ask a therapist and an anxiety coach is: there are so many more people, especially nowadays, who have stress and anxiety and are feeling the pressure because of everything that is going on. But as you yourself, what do you do? Because you have to listen to so many people's issues or problems that they're dealing with. How do you cope to let go of your day? At the end of the day, what do you do for yourself to just let go?
Yeah, that's another good question. You got some good questions today, Savia. Let's be honest about that. But like I said, I'm a bit of a workaholic, so I'm guilty. I'm in the camp of all the other workaholics that say, "Oh, I can't stop." But when I do stop, I like to watch television.
Okay,
isn't that just scandalous? So I will watch something that is quite sort of like light and silly and fluffy and
like
makes
comedy
me laugh.
Or something to make. Is it a comedy
just makes
or
me laugh. So I watch some television, and I don't always dip into things that are a bit too get my heart rate up too much. So horror films or scary things. I like the odd detective stuff, of course, and I do get a bit morbid, I suppose, and watch things. I actually quite like watching things around psychology, and they can be quite depressing, can't they?
No, but if you understand it, I don't think.
Are you a serial killer? I don't know if I'm a serial killer. Let me watch this program and find out.
You never know until someone takes you to your peak, and I don't think anybody. Okay, there are people out there, yes, they may know that they're a serial killer because of maybe their upbringing. No, it's true. Because of their upbringing and what's happened to them when they were younger, possibly. And, but then someone can push you to the edge, right, Joy? And then it just comes out of you. So none of us really know properly
Sammy,
until.
you're telling me that you've got a temper on you.
No,
That's what
I
I'm
don't.
hearing
That's the
right
thing.
now.
No, I don't. I'm a really chilled out person. I am, Joy, I swear to you, I am the most chilled out person ever. If someone does something to me, I'm like, I usually 9 times out of 10 throw it out of my head, because the reason why I say this, Joy, I carry a saying with me that says, how I treat you is a reflection of myself. How you treat me is a reflection of yourself. So if I can control how I treat people, I'm showing you how I am as a person. And how you treat me is showing how you are as a person. But I know in life there are elements to things that make us change. What happens to us can make us change. So I don't think I'm killing anyone
I
anytime
think
soon.
what you just said there, Savia, is fabulous, and that would be a really great strategy for people to take on board, because we do spend a lot of our time blaming ourselves for the things that other people do.
Yeah,
And what
true.
you've just said in that sentence, so simple, that what's just happened now in this situation, this encounter between me and somebody angry,
Yeah,
tells me more about them than it does about me.
yeah,
And I love what you said about, I try to reflect what I think I am all the time.
yeah,
And obviously you're doing the same. So that it provides a room for understanding someone,
yeah.
despite the fact it might have been a horrible encounter. But I love the fact you said you can let it go over your head because of what you say. I think that's you should say that again, Savvy, because I thought it was brilliant.
Okay,
Can you
so
say it again, please,
no,
we need to hear it.
so what I do every day, I do this actually in the morning before I go to work. When I get up, it's kind of like my, how can I say, detox from negativity in the morning. So I do it in the mirror when I'm in the bathroom. So what I say is how I treat you is a reflection of myself. How you treat me is a reflection of yourself. And that carries me through my day. And then if I'm on the train when I'm going to work, or I'm going to do a podcast with someone and I'm going out to them, no matter how, if a person bounces me, because I'm quite small, yeah, so a person is always bouncing me or pushing me or has something negative to say, and I'm just like, well, that's how you feel and that's your energy. And remember, if someone bounces you, they kind of put their energy on you. And you may walk off feeling, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel so agitated? When it's not your energy at all. It's because they bounced you and they're angry with who they are or what they're going through, and they've just put it on you. And I've always
You're,
tried.
you're a very, very astute person. I think you might be a psychologist on the quiet, actually, Savia. That's all I can say. Because what you said there is not only philosophical,
Yeah,
it's also something which I would tell someone to understand where they start and where they stop. Because
yeah,
human beings, unfortunately, get into relationships, and that can be intimate relationships,
yeah,
or even we might have a relationship with our family or with someone at work, and we begin to blur the boundaries between where I start and where you
yeah.
stop.
That's true.
So we all feel like we're one big mass.
Yeah,
So when they do something, we take it quite personally.
yeah,
We think, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done? Now, using your lovely, lovely phrase and lovely mantra and affirmation that you say to yourself first thing in the morning, what a way to start your day off. Brilliant. Is what I do to you is a reflection of me. So that helps you to stay with your values and your beliefs throughout the day, despite what other people want to be. And then you're saying very clearly, and what you do is a reflection of you.
yeah,
You are not me in that respect. So I mustn't take it on board
yeah,
when you're dishing out the stuff because you're rushing around, bouncing to people, being agitated, passing on your energy of agitation to me.
yeah,
But actually, I'm not going to respond to your agitation and become what you are.
yeah,
So I now become agitated in that moment, like pass the parcel.
yeah.
They pass their agitation on to you. I pass
Was it
it on
onto
to
someone
somebody else
else?
because, it becomes a real domino effect,
Yeah. No, that's
actually.
true.
Perfect.
Oh, cool. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me, actually. So I know I'm on the right track. You know,
Absolutely.
I always try to say change one person at a time if you can, in a good way. If you can, if you can. I
I
think.
think I think what else can you do, Savia?
No, that's
We're
true.
one. I am one person. You are one person. So even the simple statement like, I'm changing the person. Well, I'm changing the world one person at a time
Yeah.
allows you to just keep doing what you're doing and
Yeah.
not to be, I suppose, paralyzed by the enormity of, I don't know, is it 7-8 billion people on the planet or whatever
Yeah.
that big number is? I always get it wrong. But, you know, like, I'm not saying go out and change the whole world now, Joy. That's just too big.
Yeah.
But how about changing the world one person at a time?
Yeah. And then they can pass it on. Because word of
Absolutely.
mouth is quicker than anything else, I think. So, no, that totally makes so much sense. So, okay, here's the part where I say, how do you get creative within your work and within your role to help your clients to see the positivity within life itself?
Right. Deep question. As a therapist, obviously, it's more of a scientific kind of approach to people when you're doing cognitive behavioral stuff, because there are strategies and whatever involved. The counseling aspect of the way I've been trained is a little bit more creative, I suppose, in that you're allowing people's thoughts to, you know, percolate within you, or just to filter through you. So you're actually responding on the cuff and you're going with your intuition. I think there's room for creativity just in that process where me and you are having a conversation. We're bouncing off each other.
Totally.
I'm influenced by what you say. You're influenced by what I say. There's creativity in that space, okay? But also when I work in a more strategic way with the CBT stuff, I have got worksheets that I work with people, and I use a lot of metaphors, and I use a lot of the imagination. So like I said at the beginning, you know, imagine if. It's a very, very nice way to get someone into relaxing and thinking about beyond their limitations. So I said, imagine if you were in a world where, so we're very used to that kind of talk from bedtime stories, you name it. And it just turns you off. It turns your, let's say your illogical brain off and allows the creative brain to come through. So my creativity, I know I use it through images, and also through the ideas that I paint in people's heads, the things that I say, the metaphors that I say, you know, little sayings that I say. And I find that very creative. And one of my real passions, I really love not just going on the internet just to have fun, but also looking at the images in Google Images, let's say, or any image, you know, program that you can go into. I just love looking at images, because when I look at images, I then actually think about what's going on in the picture. I actually paint a story with every single image that I see.
Really
when I work with my clients, I find pictures and images that work for them in that moment. So they'll come back to a session, I'll say, right, here's this image, or here's what you said last week, this is what you said, and I found you something to represent that. And they'll laugh, you know. But images are funny because they stick.
Yeah, that's true. No, that is true. It could be anything. It could be something small.
Like jabs, you know.
So you show your clients like different pictures. What's the funniest picture you've ever shown your client, if you're allowed to say?
Okay, the most recent client I've had was having problems with sleep. And she was saying something like, oh, I could just sleep on my feet or something or whatever, you know. I said, okay. So then she came back to me the following week, and I looked at some images just before she came in, and I found a picture of like a half crescent moon, and this lady sitting on it with a pillow, snoozing away, snoring. You know, like I thought, oh, that's so funny, because she's saying she could just sleep on her feet. This is how she feels. You know, she's tired on her feet, and she laughed. She did laugh. She thought it was quite funny.
See, well, that I think that lifted some stress of her. Because I always say, I don't know if you agree, Joy. When I'm laughing, I don't think of anything else but that laughter in that moment. And sometimes I think to myself, I wish I could laugh a lot more often.
Yeah, well, laughter is the best medicine in the world, and it's free. And there's a lot of theory around why it's good for you.
Yeah.
But we laugh sometimes when we're embarrassed. I laugh a lot when I'm embarrassed, and we laugh sometimes if you're in a frightening situation and you broke that whole thing by laughing, it would just lighten the whole situation up.
Yeah,
so
it
could take the threat out of something. So if me and you were getting really serious about something, Savvy, and I thought you were just going to hit me, and I'd say, "Oh, Savvy, you're so silly, you're like a flower," and you know, you're like a blooming flower, you are. And I say something really silly, and it would just break that moment for you.
That's true.
And like being broken out of a trance, and you might laugh back. So there's a lot of theory around laughter, but when we do laugh, it's also quite an aerobic kind of exercise thing too, because we have to take in a lot of oxygen, and we laugh, and it's good for us too. So it's just a healthy thing to do.
Yeah.
And there's another connection between laughing and smiling. So when you're feeling depressed, funnily enough, the last thing ever crosses your mind is smiling. You probably can't remember the last time you smiled. You think your mouth is set in like a miserable place, and you think, what's a smile? Can't remember what a smile looks like. You say that to yourself, but you can turn the corners of your mouth up, which sounds ridiculous. You're not looking like the Joker in a Batman film, but you turn the corner of your mouth up. You could get two fingers, one either side, and lift the corners up. And the brain will recognize that as a good thing, because the brain recognizes smiles, and it kind of gives you all this good feeling, endorphins and stuff. There's lots of hormones and stuff that the brain will just like throw out at you, because it says, oh my God, Joy's in such a good mood, she's smiling, or I've triggered that particular hormone.
Yeah.
So when you're depressed and you haven't smiled very much, it's good to try, and even if it's a fake smile or a fake laugh, when you're little and someone says smile in the picture and you've got this really cheesy, unnatural looking smile, that's better than nothing. I would say smile if you can, only because it's part of the therapy. It's part of giving your brain some kind of a good feeling. So a lot of theory with laughter and smiles and stuff.
How do you
when you're depressed, you don't feel like it.
No, that's true. That's really, really true. It's sad that there's so much going on where people don't feel like that at the moment as well. It's hard to try and trigger that in people to say smile, and they're like, what have I got to smile about? I've just lost my job, or my house has just been taken away from me, and that's going on a lot right now. So it's hard for people to see that light. But the best thing about life, I find, is change. Life is always changing, and some people don't like change, but I've learned to adapt with change, and that has helped me become who I am today. And I can't put that out enough to people. Maybe, I don't know how you feel about it as well, how change can affect you, or what it does for you, Joy.
I would say, Xavier, that change is one of the it's one of those things that you can definitely predict will happen. It's inevitable.
I like the way you said that.
Like life and death. To me, change is like, if you're not changing, what are you? You're not the 5-year-old that you were. You're not the 10-year-old that you used to be. You're not the 15-year. You are now whatever age you are. I would like to think you've changed.
No, that's true.
And the thing with change as well, it's linked very much to human beings resisting it because they want certainty. So you want things to stay the same. And I can be a bit fussy with wanting things to be the same. Like I've put something on the shelf, it's got to stay there, and that's got to be in that place, and that's going to be in that place. Even though I can be very messy as well, I resist change because it makes me feel comforted that this is my environment and I know what this is about, and I can relax. So the resistance to change is probably normal. But resistance to change means you're not very good with uncertainty. And when we come to anxiety, in the whole mix with anxiety and depression, you get anxious because you can't predict what's going to happen next, or you can't predict whether you're going to be able to cope. And I would encourage you to become comfortable with feeling uncomfortable, because that's all this anxiety is. It's about, oh my God, what's going to happen in the next couple of minutes? Oh, Xavier, I don't know. Tell me, please now. Let me out of my misery now, please, Xavier. Please, Joy, just be patient. That minute will come. Okay? Live with your uncomfortableness about not knowing, but also be comforted by the fact that when you get there, you'll be able to cope, because you've done it before. You'll find that energy in you. It will happen. So the fear of the future will create a lot of uncertainty. And obviously, we're in the middle of a very uncertain time. Everyone's feeling like that, a bit jittery. Even me, I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I worrying about? And then I use my own theories, my own ideas on me, which is, Joy, you're worrying about something which you can't see. You're worrying about something that you can't see, and you're also catastrophizing. So this ability of us to jump to conclusions, to predict, and not to predict we're going to win the lottery. We predict it's going to be the sinking of the Titanic. So those two ways of thinking for human beings are just the worst things with depression as well. It's just all downhill because you have you don't realize you've got a negative attitude. Everything feels bad.
Yeah.
You know? And so you're right when you mentioned about perhaps you might not have a lot to laugh about because you might have just lost your job, or you might be in the process of losing your home, or whatever it might be, or someone in your family might be ill or has died. I get that. Who's going to laugh at that? No one's going to laugh at that. But I want you to try and find some resilience in you, some way of, even if it's just a phrase that, you know, a very, very biblical one, this too shall pass, or, you know, things will change for the better.
Yeah.
Because positive programming, programming, you know, is an affirmation. It's a statement to your mind to obey it.
Yeah.
So whether you think you're instructing your mind or not, you are instructing your mind. So that's why I always say, be very careful what you say. You know, be very careful about the stuff that you absorb from other people.
Yeah.
Because your mind is always listening to you. It's always taking stuff on board. And it's like a little child. It will just run off and do what you've asked it to do. So if it says, oh, life is terrible. Oh, this is bad. Oh my God, what am I going to do? It says, oh yeah, it is. It is, isn't it? What are we going to do? You know, it's like that, like the other half of you.
Yeah.
If you say, well, life is bad, but you know what? I think we can turn it around. Life is bad, but I think it's going to get better. Let me find something just to lift me out of this space. Because I know that downward spiral, like that horrible tornado thing that you see, you know, when you see it on television, it's just a spiral of horribleness. You can really get sucked into that. So it's hard. I'm not asking everyone to be happy all of the time. It's not possible. And on a personal note, you know, my son, who was 23, he died 2 years ago.
Oh.
So I've been going through my own stuff to do with bereavement.
Yeah.
And it's like people would say, Joy, well, you're not possibly processing it the way that we'd like you to process it. Like you should be sad, you should be falling all over the place, you should be whatever, you should be like out of it. I'm thinking, no, why should I be that? So the very things that I teach my client, which is life happens to you and it depends on how you look at it and what you make it mean, that's what's going to get you through. And my life changed drastically.
Yeah.
I won't even pretend that my life didn't change drastically. But I can either pretend that it hasn't happened and then I live in the past.
Yeah.
Or I get with a program and I move into the future.
Yeah.
Because I still have life in me. So people can get stuck in grief in different ways as well. And obviously being ill, you can get stuck in the grief of like having lost a certain faculty that you had. So grief exists in so many forms. The grief of having lost your job, the grief of having, as you said, lost your home or having to move on, whatever it might be. Grief is a big thing, you know, and I'm not playing it down, but I'm also saying that you can get through it.
Yeah. I really thank you for sharing that personal part of you, because you didn't have to. So I always thank people when they get really personal about things. Another question that I did want to ask you, which is, you love science, don't you? Or you really like science? Okay, so one question. No, I love science too, actually. Can you break down the scientific part of stress and anxiety? Because I want to know what kind of goes on in my brain when we are feeling our emotions. Could you explain a little bit about it if you can?
I'll give it a try. I'll give it a try. But what happens is that this body that we live in, Xavier, is just, you know, like a big machine picking up signals from outside. So your eyes are taking in information, visual stuff. Your ears are taking in information. Your nose is smells. Your mouth is tasting. Your hands are touching. Your skin is like, again, it's just giving you information.
Yeah.
So this is all being fed inwards into your brain. Okay. As long as life is okay and calm, then, you know, you're happy, smiling. Now, as soon as your brain detects anything that's frightening or a bit worrying, so you could call it danger, doubt, anxiety, all these things. As soon as your brain picks up there's something that's not so good in my world, it will trigger. There's a central bit in our head called the amygdala, and it's the emotional center. So it becomes the thing that takes over. So the rational brain, me and you are very rational people, but you want to see how irrational we become when we triggered that fear response. Okay. So it's like the two get cut off from each other. So the rational brain has a great problem, hard time talking to the emotional brain, which is running around in circles saying, hey, Joy, there's something wrong. Come on, Joy, where's the fire? Come on, we got to sort this out. And the rational brain saying, Joy, there's nothing wrong. That was just a little noise outside the window. Yeah. It's happened before. You know it's not. And the brain's, oh, no, that's something. We've got to sort this out. So you've got this fight between the two of you. And the rational brain will lose because it doesn't operate as quickly as the emotional brain. So the emotional brain is like Usain Bolt. And the irrational brain is, the emotional brain is like Usain Bolt, and the rational part that normally thinks quite straight. Yeah. It's like a tortoise. There's no competition. You can't win. Okay. Yeah. So those two will really, the emotional brain is there to save your life. Yeah. The only reason why we exist as a human being, its main remit is to save our life. So when it triggers the adrenaline, when we then get into our physical signs, basically we have to run like crazy or we have to fight. Yeah. And when that moment's over, it just wants you to survive. Okay. And then the logical brain might kick in and says, well, I told you that wasn't a problem. You wouldn't listen to me. So. And blah, blah. The emotional brain saying, like, I was just doing my job, for God's sake. I probably saved your life. You should be grateful. You know, but that whole place where we're in, when we're in an emotional place, is quite scary. Yeah, because I personally don't think straight. You know, you could ask me my name and I would say, I don't know. You know, until I've calmed back down. So that's the kind of process. And there's lots of things inside the brain. The central bit is the emotional bit, that amygdala that you understand. Yes. And it's the place where emotions happen. And then hopefully when things are past, it will then get stored in some memory somewhere. So you'll have a bit of a log of it as well. So we're very good, like librarians. Every incident that happens to us, we're logging it, you know, for the next time, for the next time, for the next time. And that's why we can be very... we can get into developing a habit very quickly or an idea about something. Yes. I always say if it rained on a Friday, we might say it rains every Friday. Yeah. I'm like, no, it just rained last week Friday, Joy. But you'll say, no, it rained. You make a pattern out of it. So the brain's just logging things. So I don't know if that's, am I going in the right direction?
No, it helps. No, it helps because I've always wanted to try and understand when I am in an emotional state, or if I ever get there, what my brain is doing and what my body's doing, because sometimes your brain can do one thing and your body's doing another, so it's like it detaches and you're like, what's going on? What's going on? So no, you did tell. So now I have some insight on exactly what I'm doing. Maybe it might help me or help someone else who is listening to understand exactly what the process is.
I love what you said there about the brain. We forget that the head is connected to the body. Oh my goodness me, that's shocking, isn't it? We didn't know that, but it is connected. People forget that. Yeah. So while the brain's thinking something, it's going to affect the way that we respond. It's going to be the stress, your stress response, which is it triggers adrenaline. So really, you want to use your senses. And the biggest sense, which I've been told, the biggest sensor that we have is our skin. Our skin is like, I think, some huge figure. Like, I don't know, what was it? Anyway, the skin is a big organ, like we have a heart and it beats, and we have the liver and it does whatever. So this skin is just picking up on stuff, and it's it's the larger and the largest organs that we have in our body. We don't consider it that, but it feeds you information. So sometimes when you're trying to work out whether something is really dangerous or not, I tell myself, I try and say, I'm not in danger. You're not in danger, Joy. Or, you're safe. And something as simple as that can turn off that adrenaline. Because in that moment, I'm only responding to my body's natural response to help me to get out of danger. Yeah. But if I say I'm not in danger, I'm safe, then it seems to help. And you can use your skin as well to pick up on the fact that nothing's happening. There's no flood happening. There's no fire happening, because otherwise your skin would have picked it up. So you can use your skin to feed back some information to your brain that actually we're okay in that sense physically. But really just getting that emotional brain to not do its thing is where you're at. And just taking the world around you. So the meditation you mentioned is getting yourself into a place where you calm yourself down perhaps. Or just saying calm down. We say it to children, calm down. You use your breathing as well to get you to a calm place, which you probably learned from the meditation. Yeah. Because if your breathing is regular and not up and down, up and down, up and down, your body thinks you're in a calm space.
Yeah, that's
So you
true.
can trigger that calm response as well by taking, 3 or 4 breaths in, 3 or 4 breaths out, 3 or 4 breaths in, keep it regular. Because when we're really in that hyperspace, we're breathing in a very strange way, so you try and tell the body that, oh, Joy's breathing sensibly. Oh, Savia's breathing sensibly. There's nothing happening, is there? And it calms down. So I love what you said about the, noticing that the brain and the body are connected because we do forget that.
Yeah. Oh. You got me thinking.
It's got very technical.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it
Listen.
when it gets technical because people start to understand their body and how it works. Because I feel like a lot of people don't understand their body. They just think they have a body and they must abuse it, and that's not what your body is about.
You can see it as your superpower as well, and and with that superpower comes great responsibility. Like the Superman, like the Spider-Man film.
Here's a random question for you, Joy. If you did have a superpower, what superpower would... I guess she's dancing, guys. If you did have a superpower and God came down and said, I grant you one superpower, what superpower would you have?
I'm going to zap everybody with happiness. I can see myself one of those pink, splurgy type water guns. And every time I spray it gets this big puff of pink stuff. And everyone who had a sad face suddenly starts beaming away and dancing in the streets. That's what I do, Savia.
I'm a bit of a hippie, so I'm kind of like that anyway. So if you gave me a zap, I'll just feel it double. Here's one for you, Joy. Has a client ever frustrated you?
Of course.
What do you do?
Of course, my clients frustrate me. I'm a human being. The thing with a relationship with your therapist or even someone who's just having that conversation with you is that whatever you've got, if they're doing a reasonable job, you will pass it on to them.
Yeah.
So there's this word called empathy. But really, I begin to step into your shoes, Savia. And that's why you can be around people and you say they either bring me down or they really like buoy me up. Their energy is like, because the energy is real. So really, if I'm feeling frustrated with someone in front of me, I always say, do you know what? They're passing on that frustration that they're explaining to me. No wonder I'm feeling a bit frustrated at them, so they've done a good job of conveying to me that, Joy, this is really frustrating me. I'm thinking, and you're really frustrating me too. So you have to remember, where's it, if you're doing the proper therapy role, you kind of understand that I wasn't frustrated before Savia came in the room. I was quite happy. And now she's in the room talking about what she's talking about. I'm feeling really a bit frustrated with her. I would say you've done a very good job of telling me what's happening for you.
That sounds
cool.
So
I say thank you.
Oh, okay. See? Okay. But you still have gratitude because you say thank you afterwards.
What, to my clients?
Yeah.
Say thank you?
Yeah.
I say thank you if I need to. But when I think that the word thank you happens... I don't say it often because the word thank you can be used in a manipulative way.
True.
If you know what I mean. It's like, if I say thank you, I might be getting you into a game that you might play where you then say, oh no, thank you. Or you might feel really like you were a dog and I'm just giving you a doggy treat and then praising you.
I get it.
You can change the dynamic of the relationship. Should I say,
Joy, is it because a saying that I also have is not what you say, it's how you say it that can impact a person's emotion towards you. Would you agree with that, or would you have something else different?
I'd 100% agree with you. I mean, if we're using that word thank you, because we were just talking about it, if I said, thank you, Savia, for inviting me on your show, there's a lot of love in that. Can you hear the love in the room, Savia? If I said, thank you, Savia, for inviting me on your show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Yeah.
See, I can do the clipped tone, I can do that's like another part of me. Like, you say, God, I'm sure she was saying thank you. I'm sure the word thank you was in that sentence.
Yeah.
I just wasn't feeling it.
Okay.
No, you weren't feeling it because it was just words.
Yeah.
What you were feeling was the intention behind my words, which was the sound and you thought she's annoyed. Actually, she's not saying thank you at all.
Yeah.
And she's not in a happy space either, is she?
Yeah.
You would pick that up very, very quickly. So human beings are very good at picking up body language.
Yes.
So like 80% of our communication
It's your body language.
it's nothing to do with words.
It's your body language.
It's to do with the body language, how I sound, how I look, or, you know, the way I twitch. I might twitch every now and then. Oh, because if you get these, if you watch lots of television programs, I'm not very good at it myself, but micro expressions, they call them.
Yeah.
So people that are good at reading body language could ask me a question and work out whether I'm lying or not. Okay.
Yeah.
Because of my nose might suddenly twitch, or I might suddenly just twitch my shoulder, or my eyes might suddenly just get a bit wider than they should, or my mouth, you know, open my mouth and show my teeth or don't show my teeth. They would be able to interpret the micro expressions as ways in which I'm hiding the truth. So that's a very clever skill, but hey, I haven't got that one.
I think you do. I think you just, I don't know. I think you hide it.
I've got some skill. I've got some
think you
skill around people, but I must admit the people that have got this real like superpower skill, which they learn anyway.
Yeah.
Because, you know, let's say if you worked in customs and excise or something, and someone was coming through and they had stuff in their suitcase that they shouldn't have, you just look at their body language.
That is true. Yeah.
And it's because they're behaving in a way that somebody who didn't have anything wrong, that's how they spot you. You
That's
know,
true.
you're behaving different to the last
An irrational
10
kind
or
of.
20 people that went through.
Yeah.
And they might pull you out, say, oh, Miss Langley, over here. What have I done?
So, no, that makes perfect sense. So, tell me a little bit about what type of clients you have, if you're allowed, because I know it's very personal. But when it comes to the type of clients you have, what is your best type of client to work with?
Wow. Well, there is no one type for me, Savia. I mean, for me, my main reason for being and doing what I do is just to help people to get through a difficult time, and to provide them with information which they wouldn't necessarily know. Why should they know what I know? Yeah. You know, until you've spoken to someone, you don't know. So I kind of educate them as well. So it can be male, female, the age range doesn't matter. I work with a lot of young people as well, any kids from the age of like 11 upwards as well, because they begin to understand and they can understand all this therapy stuff and they talk. So there is no one type, Savia. And your other thing was like, who do I like working with? Is that what you said?
Yeah, yeah. Is there any particular person? Or I know it's very broad. Being a therapist, you're working with different types of people every day. But I was just wondering if there's one particular client where you could share a story in the sense of how you done the process of helping them and helping them to get back to who they wanted to be. Yeah.
I mean, within that whole picture, obviously, if someone's unhappy, I would probably guess that depression or anxiety has crept into the way that they are. So in trying to solve a problem, the cognitive behavioral, let's say, attitude is that your thoughts will affect what you feel.
Yes.
And then what you feel might affect what you do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a circular connection between thinking and feeling and doing action, basically. So those things are always working. And I've forgotten what my question was, as usual.
What type
I was getting so into it.
No. What type of client would you like? Do you like working with? And is there a story that you can share with us where you helped a client have a process?
It probably means I don't have any main clients that I would be able to pick out in that way. But helping people to make the connection between what they think and what they feel is where it's at, and changing their attitude. So let's say more recently, I had a gentleman who was just feeling generally low and unhappy with his work situation. And it was trying to work out, well, is it the work that you should be doing, or is it coming from another place? You know, so sometimes a little bit of history. You know, he'd had a job where he was self-employed and he loved it, but it went wrong. And then he got this job and, you know, he wasn't that keen on it, but he was doing it. And so he was trying to find ways of enjoying what he was doing, plus also remembering the last experience. Because remember, I said that human beings are quite good at logging every experience.
Yes.
So he's made the experience of what happened with that job that he was self-employed in, meaning that he's a failure.
Oh.
So he's carrying that as well. So we look at really what other beliefs are you now carrying about yourself, which might not be true or might not be useful. And that's a way of getting someone to start seeing themselves in a positive light, because you lose or you forget all the good things about you. You forget that you're actually quite smart, intelligent, funny, curious, lovely, caring. You forget all that. I could say to you, name 3 things that's good about you. You'd say, can't think of anything, Joy. Really can't think of anything. So by the time I finished with you, I'm getting you to at least begin to like yourself. So raising your self-esteem, your estimation of how you view yourself as a human being. And once you start doing that, then you can regain some confidence. So confidence is a funny thing, because I think it comes from doing things and doing things well. Simple things like making a cup of tea, but making it well. Or driving a car, but driving it well. So it's about the things that you tell yourself. So I'm really trying to always keep people focused on it's the things that you tell yourself is what really matters, because that will then create an emotional state for you. So if you're telling yourself things about you're a failure, that you're not whatever, and that's not going to help to create an emotional space that's positive.
Yeah.
Because if those two create a loop in themselves, you're going to get back into a very sad space. And depression is an illness. I think that's taken me a long time to actually accept it, even though I live in this world of, psychology and whatever. It's like it's an illness. It's like it's an illness. Wow. If someone broke their arm, you wouldn't chastise them for having a broken arm. If they had a dicky heart, and they had a heart attack, you wouldn't complain to them about how could you possibly, have a heart attack. It happens. It's an illness. So people forget that. And I think it's just telling people what the illness looks like. If it were a stranger that came knocking on your door in the middle of the night, Xavier, would you recognize it?
Yeah.
And I just tell people, you'd recognize it because it makes you think like this. These are the thinking patterns that you can get into, the jumping to conclusions and guessing and catastrophizing and getting into be very black and white thinking. You don't have alternatives, just either this way or that way.
Yeah.
You get into generalizing. You get into forgetting the good things about you. You get into also becoming very self-critical and having expectations which are unrealistic. So there's lots of thinking patterns that human beings do which are not helpful, and they just contribute towards depression.
Okay.
So once you know that about you, then you can begin to change, which is your lovely word about change. Because you don't have to change.
Yeah, that's true.
But once you know something, at least you have the choice of changing.
Yeah.
So I think teaching someone about how this illness looks, because it's a big thing, Xavier, in terms of where it goes, where the dark places that depression goes, to the point where people are not here anymore. So it goes to really dark places. So the understanding of what's happening to you is kind of critical to understand. But this guy, he's doing very well now. No longer working with him. He's happy. He's found his direction in life as well. I get people to look at also what lights you up, I call it. I have these series of words that you can look at to remember what you are and what your values are and what you like. You might be an adventurous person who's stuck in an office. You should be outside climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
That's going to make you happy. You might be someone who enjoys working with animals, but yet you're working, again, perhaps you're working with people, but actually you prefer to work with animals. Yeah. You should be working with animals. It will make you feel happier. So this thing about trying to find, as I call it, your happy place, it's a journey, Xavier, and it requires a bit of personal development, and you have to be prepared to look at yourself, which is the hard part.
Here's a question for you, and it's not even on my sheet. Okay, a lot of people are in denial about themselves, and just because you just said it and it popped into my head, I said I'm going to ask. A lot of people are in denial about themselves and they don't like hearing the truth about themselves. How do you as a therapist tell them the truth about themselves in a way that they will accept it? Wow,
big question. Okay, so the truth can sometimes hurt, can't it?
Yeah.
Because the realization of what you are, you don't want anyone to see it. So of course the truth can hurt. But my job as a therapist is never to directly hurt anyone or challenge them in that way. Once I get to know them, perhaps I might be a little bit more challenging.
Yeah.
But there isn't any way to change someone's mind. I think what I do is present different options.
Yes.
Like
I like that.
giving you a box of chocolates, Savia. Yes, you can have the caramel creams as my favorites.
Okay.
Or you can
I'll remember that
have
now.
the Brazil nuts if that's your favorite. So I present you with options like, okay, you're just a box of chocolates, and how about looking at this one? How about looking at this one? So when I look at your thinking styles and your patterns, it's like, do you realize you think like that? Be curious, be a scientist, go away for a while, go and collect some evidence, keep a diary, note what happens to you, note how you feel, note who seems to do it for you, note what you think when that happens. And when you then have some data, just like a good computer, then you can begin to see some patterns. Oh, you can say, oh my God, Joy. People do say, I didn't realize I was a negative thinker, Joy. I'm saying, well, I knew it, but, they can't see it.
Yeah.
So you have to allow them to get the evidence and gather the evidence so that they can then say, you know what, Joy, I didn't realize I was a negative thinker.
Yeah.
I do think like that, and it's not useful. I say, no, it's not really useful at all, is it? So it's about, you can never make someone do something.
That's true. Yeah, they have to do it on their own free will. Free will. There you go.
But you can present options.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. So I'm going to change up your last few questions for you, and I'm going to make them a little bit fun. Okay? I'm going to throw spontaneousness at you. Joy's looking at me like, oh my gosh.
You can try.
So, if you were stuck on a desert island, Joy, because I know you have a musical background, right? If you were stuck on a desert island and you were by yourself until I came and collected you, what one album would you bring with you out there?
I'm trying to think. It's been a long time since I picked up an album, but I used to listen to a lot of Earth, Wind and Fire.
Oh, hey.
Back in the day. That was a long time ago. And also I listened to a lot of Teddy Pendergrass and Barry White. This is really aging me, isn't it? So, I like the old crooners. So I'd probably take something that was quite soothing and quite, I suppose, semi-sexy, man with a deep voice. Why not? Why not, Savia? I'm going to be by myself. I might as well be happy.
No, that's true. No, that's true. If you had an unlimited amount of money, what would you change in the anxiety or coach industry or therapist industry? What would you change to make it better?
Wow. Okay. I think perhaps updating everyone's knowledge about anxiety and depression, and I'm still learning myself and reviewing how I approach it. But I think if everybody was singing from the same page, then we would be getting this kind of standardized treatment being given. I know that everyone goes on about standards, and within my own industry everyone goes on about standards and everyone having it, but the truth is we all operate by different standards. It's like driving a car. We learn to drive the car, then whether we choose to have a burger while we're driving or do our lipstick while we're driving, that's entirely up to us.
That's true.
So you've got the standard bits and then you've got comes you. So I don't know. It's a good question. Throwing £1 million at the industry in order to change it.
You have infinity money, so you're an absolute trillionaire and
infinite amount of money.
You have infinity money.
Well, okay, then we probably end up doing ourselves out of a job. But if we're helping people to learn about anxiety and depression, then they wouldn't have any need for us in the end.
That's true.
So we'd be doing such a good job that we'd be teaching them well, and hopefully then they can go on to teach somebody else well, and somebody else will then teach. So I'll be eliminating myself from the picture, Savia, in this scenario.
But then you would have done a great thing.
Perhaps that's it. Which is sad. There would be no need for me.
Oh, the way you say it.
Doing that particular job. There'd be no need for me doing that particular job, Salvia, because the problem is being solved over time. And that good information is being passed from person to person to person.
Would you? I know you'd be out of a job, but would you be happy knowing that you changed the world?
That would change the world, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. It would change. It would literally change the world. Yeah,
That would change the world, because obviously we got statistics around, everyone feeling that they're depressed. If you ask, a group of people, how many of you depressed, it's like probably 60% will say yeah. Or how many of you hate your job? Like you've got 60 to 70% saying they hate their jobs. Whatever, these figures are really high.
yeah, they
And I'm
are.
just pulling them out of the air, and they're not necessarily accurate, but I know they're high figures.
Yeah.
It's not good that we are all operating in this world doing things that we don't like, that are making us feel actually like crap.
Yeah, no,
It's Doesn't that feel like a stupid thing to do?
yeah. It's hard because in order for everyone to have a specific passion, you need money for it, and enable for you in so let me rephrase myself. So for you to be able to do that passion, you need money. You need to work to get the money in a job that you may not like, and that could take years. And by the time for some people, by the time they end up doing it, they may feel that it's too late for them, or somebody else is going to come and be better than them, which is quite sad. But I always say to
And
people,
I would take all of those things that you just said, Savia, and I would turn them all around.
I love that. See,
I love the fact you said that whatever blah 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 could take, will take a long time. I'd say, why?
Yeah.
What if it didn't take a long time?
See, I like that.
And when you said, but you need a lot of money, I'm saying, why do you need a lot of money?
No, but these are the things that people tell me every day.
I know, because we call these the hurdles that you put in your way.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the hurdles that we put in our way are really like a way of protecting ourselves from
Achieving.
the fact that we won't do something about it. Okay. So I'll justify it.
Yeah.
Hurdles are hurdles, mountains are mountains. There's always a mountain to climb. I can't pretend there isn't one. But saying I won't climb it because it's going to be a bit of snow at the top and I'm not good at skiing.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, well, there might not be that much snow at the top, and perhaps you can practice skiing, or perhaps it won't be as bad as you think it will be.
Yeah.
And so the hurdles that we put in our way, again, whether it's negative thinking, call it what you want, but you can be your own limiter.
Yes.
Like if we were looking at a car and looking at it can only go to 100 miles an hour. You've set 100 miles an hour. Why can't you set your limiter to 200 miles an hour or 300 miles an hour? And you gave me that lovely question about limitless amount of money, Joy, to change the industry. I'm saying, oh my God, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is actually. But what you then gave me was permission to try.
Yeah.
Because I would immediately find lots of reasons why I couldn't do it. Oh, no, you can't do it because of this. You said, well, no, Joy, the money's not a problem. So what would you do? And you're forcing me now to think. So human beings, unfortunately, when we get into these crappy jobs, we stop thinking. And the dreams that we have in our head, we stop dreaming about them. So the dreams can only become a reality if you think about them enough and give them enough oxygen and feed them lots of, lovely food and make them nice and fat and, like, ooh, a lovely dream. You're just ripe to happen, aren't you? Yeah, because you've thought about it enough.
Yeah.
So we even stop ourselves from thinking about that.
I like that.
So where's the limiting stuff happening?
Yeah.
And I'm doing that all the time with learning new things, learning technology. It's always the point when I just don't know anything about something and I'm frustrated as hell. And then I learn a little bit more. And I tell myself, I coach myself internally. I give myself some good self-talk, which is, come on, Joy, you can do this. Come on, Joy, you can do this. And it's like constantly like having to tell myself. It's so boring, but she needs a lot of coaching and she needs a lot of encouragement.
Yeah.
So I just coach myself internally. I give myself some good self-talk. So I would say that people probably should do that a little bit more. And I know we've decided that we can't get to where we're going before we've even got there.
Yeah.
So that's another limiting thing. I would say, how do you know?
Yeah, no, that's true.
So, but those thoughts are to help you, to stop you from striving and to stop you from trying So you won't get that deep sense of disappointment when it doesn't happen. So you're protecting yourself. I get that part too.
Okay. No,
But
I
I would
understand.
say that, if you have something that you're really intent on doing, read about it,
Yeah.
learn about it. No one says you have to have it as a job. It can be your best hobby in the world, your best favorite activity in the world. And therefore your job becomes less of a pain in your life.
Because you
It
know you have
becomes the
something.
provider of
Yeah.
the money that helps you to go out and do fishing every weekend
Yeah. See?
with your favorite rod, you know. Sorry, that was just a silly example.
No, that's my dad. That is literally my dad. He has
I
spot
can't believe
on.
I said that. You've done fishes.
Yeah, totally.
That is
Like
weird.
he just got
It's
his license.
spooky.
He just got his license to be like a pro fisher. So when you said that, I was like, she just totally just said my dad. Yeah.
Should I say, Savia, to scare the out of you? I read your mind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, I shouldn't have taken my afro away from my face.
It makes it easier for me to read your mind when
See
you
what I
remove the hair
mean?
from your
Yeah,
mind.
see, I've got a lot of
But,
hair, so no. I've got
we're
two.
having too much fun. We're having too much
No,
fun.
that's good. It's a good thing. So I have two more questions for you, Joy, before I let you go. And my second to last question is you've kind of fulfilled it already, but I just wondered if you had anything else that you would add to it. So the question is, has there ever been a time where you were in a dark place and you felt like you didn't have support or enough support from the people around you who you love and care about, or lack of money or funds to be able to do what you love doing? What would you say to somebody who wants to be a therapist or help people who have anxiety, who want to get in this industry? What would you say to them to help them to get into the industry and to keep them going in a positive manner?
Okay. The industry is a tough one, I suppose, to be in because you're studying for 4 years. So you can hear me putting the barriers in the way, but you have to recognize that the 4 years is a lot, or 3 or 4 years is a long time. And the jobs at the end of it are not guaranteed either. So you're actually studying in an industry where the jobs at the end of it are not guaranteed. So you might have to find something that straddles another area of it,
Yeah.
of like social work or something else, or working for a charity or whatever. So it's not a money spinning industry in that respect, but you can take it to another level, which is the coaching or become an independent therapist like I'm doing, and obviously on here talking to you,
Yeah.
building up my brand, all that kind of publicity media type stuff. But really and truly, I think if you know it's going to be something that might not have a job guaranteed at the end of it, but you still want to do it from the personal perspective point of view,
Yeah.
then go ahead and do it. And there will be something along the way that might turn up for you. There's also some money involved in terms of like the cost of the course. And also there's a 1 year gap thing where you're meant to, again, do something where it costs money. So money is involved. Okay, so let's not pretend about that. So perhaps you might have to save up for it, which is fine. Or do a job while you're doing the
Yeah.
training.
Well, that makes sense.
The training, I won't knock the training. I like the training. I learned a lot about myself. It's probably why I'm in such a good place and why I can roll with the punches a lot better than I used to. But it's just pointing out that it's not like studying to be, I don't know, a lawyer, or studying to be a dentist. When you come out with your qualification, you'll be able to create a job or find a job. This therapy world is a little bit weird in that the jobs are not necessarily there, which is sad. And the jobs that are there tend to be in the charity sector.
Yes.
After all that studying, you suddenly realize I have to do it for free. I have to do what? No, how am I supposed to earn a living? So there's a lot of people that have made it work for them in different ways, which is good. They become a bit more business savvy. And then when they entered the whole profession, they had a business head to start with.
Okay.
So I think those people do really, really well in taking the acts of therapy and the benefits of therapy and taking it to a wider audience in a kind of commercial way.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. I would say that, that if you want to do something in this world, do it. I don't regret having studied it. I did get a job at the end of it, just about, which was just, I felt a bit of luck at the end of it when I finished. But it's made me a better person.
Yeah.
So the personal development aspect of what you learn, I think you can perhaps follow courses as well. Instead of just doing the training and becoming a counselor, you can just do personal development courses. Find out about the self-help industry. There's lots of books there, lots of videos that you can watch. If that's your own personal growth.
Yeah.
If you really want to go out there and help other people, then obviously the qualification is something which people would ask for.
Okay.
So you'll have to go through the route of getting the qualification. But at the end of it, you can go into private practice. You don't have to just work for somebody else. And the reason why I started studying in the first place was to go into private practice.
Okay.
Eventually.
So you knew exactly what you wanted to do.
My age, Savia, you know.
Would you? What? There's not. Stop it.
Something for me, old age. That's what it had to be.
Stop it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I don't want to be in a job where suddenly I get to the age where they say you're too old, Joy, or too whatever, and then I've lost my job. I will always be working for myself.
That's
I will
true.
also always be doing something that
I
makes
agree with you.
money for me and puts food on my table.
Yeah.
And that's through my skills and you know, just generally just learning stuff and then sharing it with people and helping people. So I know I'm confident that I will never have to, within reason, work for someone else unless I want to.
See, that's good. You're never too old to do your role, I think. That's just my personal opinion. And especially because it brings creativity, it brings a sense of, you know, relief and happiness within you, knowing that you've helped someone become better within themselves to be able to move on with their life and do something that they want to do is a really good thing. My last question for you, which is the easiest one out of every single question, is all your social medias. Where can we find you, Joy? How can people get in touch with you? Go for it.
Nice one. Okay. Well, I am on Facebook, I think, she says. This is how technical I'm not. But I obviously have a personal page, fair enough. My name is Karen Joy Langley, because there are a lot of Joy Langleys out there, including all my cousins, but a lot of Joy Langleys out there. So Karen Joy Langley, that's Facebook. If you go on LinkedIn, again, I think I'm there as Karen Joy Langley. So I've had to put the extra bit at the front, which is my name, Karen. And then if you want to email me, my email is joy@catchathought. So this is my
I like that
name.
part.
catchathought.co.uk. And so there's ways of finding me. I'm sure if you typed in Karen Joy Langley, therapist,
It will come up.
I think things will just pop up on
No,
Google.
it has, because I did it.
Google stalks people, doesn't it? It's got everything. It's got something on everyone, hasn't it?
I don't know. The man who invented Google.
If my cat's famous, I'm sure, you know.
Your cat? What's your cat's name? You haven't got a cat? I got 3.
You got 3 cats?
Yeah, I think animals are good for therapy in its own way. So I thought, I got 3.
It's amazing to look after them, Savia, but yeah, they do bring a certain amount of relaxation to a human being. Yeah.
No, that's true. Joy, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Yes People podcast. You've been a great guest. Thank you so much.
Well, Savia, you've been a pleasure talking to you, and you asked me some really tough questions, but it's good to be asked tough questions. Wouldn't life be boring if I kept having to answer the same questions?
No, that's true. No, that's a fair point.
So thank you for being really creative and also for sharing some of your own psychological knowledge, because you actually know a lot, and some of your own ways of being around people. You shared that. That was just amazing. I thought that was great.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm humbled by that. Thank you so much. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the Yes People podcast. And please remember, you can subscribe to Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer to listen to. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And always remember that you can donate to the Yes People podcast through the Savia Rocks website, or go on to PayPal and type in paypal.me/Us People podcast. Thank you for listening, and as always, stay happy, stay positive, and as always, continue to be kind to one another.